Do you think that Prince Andrew will ever be held accountable?
I'm going to try my damnedest. It's ridiculous that it's gone on this long. There's that much evidence that could have all of these people locked up for the rest of their lives.
In February of 2011, an email was sent. 5 words that would change everything. We are in this together. What you're about to hear isn't just about one disgraced royal. It's about power, lies, and a scandal so explosive that the British monarchy took the unprecedented step of stripping a prince born into royalty of his very title. But here's what they're not telling you, and you need to stay until the very end to understand why the royal family might be preparing for something even bigger. This isn't over, not by a long shot. October 30th, 2025, King Charles III does the unthinkable. His own brother, Prince Andrew, Duke of York, 8th in line to the throne, is stripped of his title and evicted from his royal residence. The announcement came from Buckingham Palace with chilling formality. Andrew would no longer be known as Prince, but simply as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, and he must vacate the 30-room royal lodge. But why? Why now?
It's the scandal that's rocked the royal family to its core. Prince Andrew's relationship with convicted offender Jeffrey Epstein. On Sunday, Nine's 60 Minutes explores new revelations in the wake of Virginia Giuffre's posthumously published memoir. At the beginning,
is it possible that you met Virginia Roberts?
Never happened.
After years of scandal, after settlements, after public disgrace, what finally pushed the king to take such drastic action? The answer lies in 3 words: Virginia Roberts Giuffre. On October 21st, 2025, a book hit the shelves. Nobody's Girl, a posthumous memoir by the woman who dared to take on Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and yes, Prince Andrew himself. The woman whose photograph with the prince catalyzed his fall from grace. But here's the tragedy. Virginia Giuffre took her own life in April of 2025, just months before her book's release. She was only 41 years old. She left explicit instructions: publish everything, hold nothing back. And what that book revealed has sent shockwaves through the palace walls. If you want to understand how deep this scandal really goes, you need to subscribe right now and hit that notification bell. What's coming next will shock you. The evidence is damning, the lies are unraveling, and the royal family, they're scrambling. Don't miss a single detail. Subscribe now. Prince Andrew, war hero, fighter pilot in the Falklands, once one of Britain's most beloved royals.
Ever since Jeffrey Epstein was arrested and killed himself in prison, all the men who ever associated with him have come under fire. No one more so than Prince Andrew, the one member of the royal family who everybody always forgets.
The dashing naval officer who served his country with distinction. So how did it all go so catastrophically wrong? The answer is a name that has haunted the powerful for years: Jeffrey Epstein. Andrew has said he was introduced to Epstein by Ghislaine Maxwell in 1999. What followed was a friendship that would span over a decade, private jets, lavish parties, and connections to some of the world's most powerful people. They met infrequently, Andrew would later claim, once or twice a year at most, but the evidence tells a very different story. In February of 2000, Andrew attended a party at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida. Also present, Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell.
How do you solve a problem like Prince Andrew? Another scandal's drops, and this one could finish him again. A leaked email shows Andrew reassuring convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein, saying we're in this together, just a day after the infamous photo of him with 17-year-old Virginia Giuffre hit the papers.
Photographs show them mingling with ease, comfortable in each other's company. These weren't distant acquaintances making small talk. These were people who knew each other well. But it gets worse. Months later, Epstein and Maxwell were guests at Windsor Castle, at a party hosted by Queen Elizabeth herself, celebrating Andrew's 40th birthday alongside other royal milestones: Princess Anne's 50th, the Queen Mother's 100th, Princess Margaret's 70th. And there among the royalty were a financier and his companion who would later be exposed as monsters. They weren't just acquaintances, they were intimate friends of the royal family, welcomed into the inner sanctum of British royalty. In 2006, Andrew invited them back to Windsor for his daughter Princess Beatrice's 18th birthday ball, an extravagant celebration for his beloved daughter. Here's what makes this chilling. This was just 2 months after a US arrest warrant had been issued for Epstein over the sexual assault of a minor.
Let's just read you this statement from the family of Virginia Roberts Giuffre. Today, an ordinary American girl from an ordinary American family brought down a British prince with her truth and extraordinary courage.
Andrew knew. He had to have known. The news was public. The warrant was public. Yet he still invited Epstein and Maxwell to celebrate his daughter's coming of age. Think about that for a moment. A convicted predator at an 18-year-old's birthday party. By 2008, Epstein pleaded guilty to 2 state prostitution charges, including solicitation of prostitution with a minor. He registered as a sex offender. He served time in prison. The world knew who Jeffrey Epstein was: a predator, a criminal, someone no respectable person should associate with. So Andrew cut ties, right? He distanced himself from this convicted sex offender, right? He did what any person with a conscience would do? Wrong. In December of 2010, Andrew was photographed walking through Central Park with Epstein, casually strolling like old friends without a care in the world. He stayed overnight at Epstein's Manhattan mansion, the same mansion where so many crimes had occurred.
Well, this is what we do know about Prince Andrew and the businessman and convicted child sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. We know Prince Andrew got to know Jeffrey Epstein in 1999. We know that he saw him fairly regularly for some period.
The public was outraged. Newspapers demanded answers. How could a prince of the realm be seen with a registered sex offender? Andrew's judgment was questioned across the media landscape. In November of 2019, Andrew sat down with BBC's Emily Maitlis for what would become one of the most disastrous interviews in royal history. He attempted to explain himself, to salvage his reputation. During that interview, Andrew claimed he visited Epstein in 2010 for one reason only: to end their friendship face to face. He said he went there with the sole purpose of telling Epstein it was inappropriate for them to remain in contact. By mutual agreement, during that walk in Central Park, they decided to part company. And then Andrew said something crucial, something he would repeat for emphasis: "I never had any contact with him from that day forward. From that day forward. Final, definitive, end of story." That was a lie, and we know it was a lie because of an email.
It's breaking tonight. Prince Andrew is giving up all of his titles, including the Duke of York. It follows a string of scandals surrounding his relationship with paedophile Jeffrey Epstein and his relationship with an alleged Chinese spy. But of course, he will remain a prince, as this remains his birthright.
An email that has now surfaced. An email sent in February of 2011, 3 months after Andrew claimed he'd cut all contact, 3 months after he told the world on camera that he'd severed ties completely. February 27, 2011, a photograph is published for the first time in the Mail on Sunday newspaper. It shows Prince Andrew with his arm around a 17-year-old girl named Virginia Roberts. She's wearing jeans and a pink top. Next to them, smiling, Ghislaine Maxwell. The setting is Maxwell's London townhouse. The girl would later testify that she'd been paid $15,000 after being flown around the world to be introduced to the prince. $15,000. Think about what that number means. Think about what kind of introduction commands that price. The next day, February 28, 2011, Andrew sends an email to Jeffrey Epstein. Not a message cutting ties, not an angry demand for answers, not outrage that he'd been photographed with a teenage girl. No, Andrew reaches out to offer support, solidarity, comfort. "I'm just as concerned for you. Don't worry about me. It would seem we are in this together and we'll have to rise above it. Otherwise, keep in close touch and we'll play some more soon." Read those words again. "We are in this together. Keep in close touch. We'll play some more soon." 4 exclamation marks. Enthusiasm. Eagerness to continue the friendship. The email was signed AHRH, the Duke of York KG, His Royal Highness, Knight of the Garter, one of Britain's highest honors. He signed it with his full title, with pride. Royal biographer Ingrid Seward called the message hugely damning, asking, if it was his contention that he had never met Virginia, or that the infamous image was fake, surely he would have said something straight away. Instead, he pledged solidarity with a convicted sex offender. He wanted to play some more. What does that mean? Play what? Play golf? Or something else entirely? But there's more. So much more.
Virginia Giuffre, the woman who accused Jeffrey Epstein and Prince Andrew of crimes, has died, aged 41. Her family has issued a statement confirming she died by suicide at her farm near Perth overnight.
Recent reports reveal that Andrew allegedly asked a police officer assigned to him as a bodyguard to dig up dirt on Virginia Giuffre to find her date of birth, her social security number, personal information that could be used to discredit her, to intimidate her, to build a case against her. London's Metropolitan Police confirmed they are actively looking into these allegations. This isn't just about a friendship gone wrong. This is about alleged witness tampering. This is about a prince using taxpayer-funded protection officers to investigate a victim. This is about abuse of power at the highest levels. To understand the full horror of what happened, we need to talk about Virginia, not the headlines, not the scandal, But the human being at the center of all this, Virginia Roberts Giuffre, described being groomed by Ghislaine Maxwell while working at Mar-a-Lago, where her father was employed. She was just a teenager, vulnerable, looking for guidance and opportunity. Instead, she found predators. She wrote about being trafficked by Epstein and Maxwell to scores of wealthy, powerful men across multiple continents. In her own words, "I was habitually used and humiliated, and in some instances choked, beaten, and bloodied. I believed that I might die a sex slave." Let those words sink in. Choked, beaten, bloodied. This wasn't a consensual relationship. This wasn't a teenage girl making poor choices. This was systematic abuse, trafficking, exploitation by people with unlimited resources and connections. In her memoir, Virginia describes being told by Maxwell one day in March of 2001 that she would be like Cinderella because she was going to meet a handsome prince. That prince was Andrew. According to her account, she was told to do whatever the prince wanted. Maxwell allegedly instructed her on how to behave, what to say, how to please him. She alleges 3 sexual encounters with Andrew, once in London at Maxwell's townhouse, once in New York, and once on Epstein's private Caribbean island. 3 times. 3 opportunities for Andrew to realize something was wrong. 3 opportunities to ask questions, to show concern, to help a teenage girl who was clearly being exploited.
She had actually called me when she was on the boat with them and while she was there, she told me that she told me that she was scared because she knew what that Jeffrey wanted her to do, but she didn't want to do it.
Andrew has always denied these allegations, vehemently, completely. In the BBC interview, he offered peculiar defenses that raised more questions than they answered. He claimed he was medically incapable of sweating, contradicting Virginia's account of sweaty dancing at a London nightclub called Tramp. He said an overdose of adrenaline during the Falklands War had left him unable to perspire. Medical experts were baffled. He also claimed he was at a Pizza Express in Woking with his daughter Beatrice on the specific night in question. He remembered it clearly, he said, because taking Beatrice to Pizza Express was such an unusual event. The specificity was strange. The alibi was unverifiable. The interview was so catastrophic, so filled with bizarre excuses and lack of empathy, that within days Andrew stepped down from royal duties. The Queen, his mother, had seen enough. The British public had seen enough. His military titles were returned. His patronages were stripped. He was effectively banished from public life. In 2021, Virginia sued Andrew in a New York civil court. She was demanding accountability, justice, recognition of what had happened to her. Andrew's lawyers fought to dismiss the case, arguing technicalities, jurisdiction, anything to avoid a trial. But the case moved forward. The prospect of Andrew being deposed under oath, of having to answer questions with penalties for perjury, became very real, and suddenly, in February of 2022, there was a settlement, an undisclosed sum reportedly between 7 and 12 million pounds. A statement filed in court acknowledged that Epstein was a sex trafficker and Giuffre was an established victim of abuse. Andrew paid, but he never apologized. He never admitted wrongdoing. He never expressed genuine remorse, and he never showed empathy for the victims, for Virginia, or for the hundreds of other girls and young women Epstein and Maxwell destroyed. Earlier this year, Virginia was recovering from a car crash and renal failure. Her health was deteriorating. Her brother traveled from the United States to Australia to help care for her. He was with her in her final weeks. He witnessed her pain, her struggle, the toll that years of trauma had taken. He was the one who found her when she took her own life.
Why are they still walking around free right now? You know, I hope and I pray that the FBI and the international world as well can start standing behind us victims, us survivors.
She survived Epstein. She survived Maxwell. She survived the legal battles, the public scrutiny, the death threats, the victim blaming. But in the end, the trauma was too much. The wounds were too deep. This story is still developing. New revelations are coming out almost daily. If you want to stay ahead of the news, if you want the truth before the mainstream media sanitizes it, smash that like button and subscribe. We're not done yet, not even close. Here's where things get really interesting, because the question everyone's asking is, what did the royal family know, and when did they know it? It remains unclear what the royal family, or other members of the royal household, knew about the extent of Andrew's relationship with Epstein. Did they know about the emails? Did they know about the visits? Did they know about the allegations? Or did Andrew lie to them too? But consider this, for years, Andrew paid zero rent on his 30-room Royal Lodge mansion. He had a peppercorn rent agreement, literally paying 1 peppercorn per year in exchange for maintaining the property. 1 peppercorn. It's not even symbolic, it's insulting. For 2 decades, the British taxpayer effectively subsidized his lavish lifestyle while he maintained friendships with criminals. In October of 2025, this arrangement became public knowledge when the Times newspaper obtained the information through a Freedom of Information request. The public was furious. Parliament demanded answers. Members of Parliament openly questioned whether Andrew should be living in Crown property at all. The pressure became overwhelming. Behind the scenes, sources say it's Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, who have been pushing hardest for Andrew's removal. William has reportedly made it clear to his father that Andrew is a liability the monarchy cannot afford. They want a clean slate before they eventually take the throne. They want clear distance between the monarchy and this scandal. They want the next generation of royals to represent something different: accountability, transparency, empathy. Andrew represents everything they're trying to move away from.
But it's possible that it was you with your arm around
That's
her.
me, but I have simply no recollection.
He was clearly lying.
That's how powerful men shut down vulnerable women.
On October 30th, King Charles made his move. In a decision that must have been agonizing, this is his brother after all. Andrew was stripped of the title Prince. This is nearly unprecedented for someone born into the royal family. He was stripped of his military titles, his patronages, his honors, everything. These censures are deemed necessary, the palace statement read, notwithstanding the fact that he continues to deny the allegations against him, notwithstanding his denials. Translation: we don't believe him anymore. Translation: the evidence is too damning to ignore. Translation: we have to protect the institution, even if it means sacrificing family. Andrew will now move to a property on the Sandringham estate, privately owned by the king, not the crown. He'll receive private financial support from Charles, not taxpayer money. But here's the problem, the complication that makes this whole situation even more absurd. Andrew remains 8th in line to the throne. He remains a counselor of state, meaning if the king were incapacitated, Andrew could still exercise royal powers on his behalf. Think about that. A man stripped of his title for his associations with convicted sex traffickers could theoretically represent the crown. The government says it has no plans to remove him from the line of succession. That would require an act of parliament, a constitutional crisis, debates and votes. So for now, he remains in line, a permanent stain on the succession. So where does this leave us? Is this finally the end of the Prince Andrew saga? Not even close. Former royal butler Grant Harold appeared on GB News and said something chilling, something that should make everyone pay attention. There's something bigger going to come out. The royal family wouldn't be doing this lightly. They're getting ready for whatever's going to happen. There's something brewing. He worked in the royal household. He knows how they operate. He knows they don't make moves like this without reason. And he says there's more coming. Something brewing. What could be worse than what we already know? What could possibly justify these unprecedented actions? Here are the possibilities, and you need to understand each one. First, more victims. Virginia wasn't alone. Her memoir details being lent out to scores of wealthy, powerful people by Epstein and Maxwell. Scores, not dozens. Scores. How many other women were there? How many other victims have stories about Prince Andrew? If other women come forward with Andrew's name, with similar accounts, with corroborating details, the scandal explodes exponentially. One accusation can be denied. Multiple accusations from multiple sources become impossible to dismiss. Second, criminal charges. London's Metropolitan Police is investigating whether Andrew asked an officer to obtain Giuffre's personal information. If proven, that's witness intimidation, that's obstruction of justice, that's conspiracy. These aren't civil matters anymore. These are crimes with prison sentences. Could a former prince of the realm actually face criminal charges? The investigation is active. The possibility is real. Third, more emails, more evidence. An email also surfaced showing Andrew's ex-wife Sarah Ferguson calling Epstein a supreme friend in 2011, just weeks after publicly denouncing him. She claimed she was threatened with a defamation lawsuit by Epstein, that she was trying to placate him. But the email exists. What else is out there? What other communications might surface from Andrew's phones, computers, servers? Every email release seems to contradict another official statement. The lies are unraveling faster than the palace can contain them, and once the lies start unraveling, everything becomes suspect. Fourth, extradition. Virginia filed her case in New York. The settlement was in American courts. But what if US prosecutors decide they want Andrew's testimony under oath for other cases? What if they want to question him about other Epstein associates? What if they want to know what he saw, what he knew? Who else was involved? US prosecutors could potentially seek Andrew's testimony, or worse, his extradition on criminal matters related to the Epstein case. The UK and US have an extradition treaty. Imagine a British prince in an American courtroom, under oath, forced to answer questions he spent years avoiding. The diplomatic crisis alone would be unprecedented. And fifth, and this is the big one, political complications on both sides of the Atlantic. There are ongoing discussions about Ghislaine Maxwell's case and potential developments that could impact multiple high-profile individuals. Maxwell is currently serving 20 years, but she knows things. She has information. She has names. There's speculation about sealed documents, client lists, and connections that reach into the highest levels of power in multiple countries. If certain information becomes public, if witnesses decide to speak, if deals are made behind closed doors, if Maxwell decides cooperation is in her interest, the monarchy isn't just preparing for a storm, they're preparing for a Category 5 hurricane that could destroy reputations, end careers, and topple powerful people around the world. Throughout all of this, the headlines, the legal battles, the royal drama, it's easy to forget what this is really about. This is about Virginia Roberts Giuffre, who was 17 years old when she says she was trafficked to a British prince. This is about a girl who should have been protected but was instead exploited. In her memoir, she wrote about being nobody's girl, belonging to everyone and no one, passed around like currency among powerful men who saw her not as a person but as an object for their use, an object to be bought, sold, traded, discarded. Her collaborator Amy Wallace described Virginia as having experienced the depths of hell with Maxwell and Epstein. But the memoir isn't just a catalog of horrors. It's about resilience, survival, transformation. It's about a woman who escaped, built a new life, formed a family, became an advocate. Virginia created Victims Refuse Silence, later relaunched as Speak Out Act Reclaim, or SOAR, a non-profit organization dedicated to helping other survivors of sex trafficking. She fought back. She spoke truth to power when it would have been easier to stay silent. She helped put both Epstein and Maxwell behind bars. She changed laws. Her family released a statement after her death saying, "This is not just a victory for her, but for every single survivor of the horrific crimes perpetrated by Epstein and his co-conspirators. But victory came at an unbearable price. She won the battles but lost the war against her own trauma." So let's be absolutely clear about what we know for certain. Andrew maintained a close friendship with a convicted sex offender for over a decade. He visited Epstein's properties even after his conviction and imprisonment. He invited Epstein and Maxwell to royal events, including his daughter's birthday party, even after Epstein's arrest warrant. He lied on camera about when he last contacted Epstein. He sent an email pledging solidarity with Epstein the day after a damaging photograph was published. He allegedly tried to intimidate a victim by having police dig up her personal information. He settled a civil case with Virginia Giuffre for millions of pounds, and he has never, not once, shown genuine remorse or empathy for the victims. Not once. Not a single statement expressing sorrow for what these women endured. King Charles and Queen Camilla issued a statement saying their thoughts and utmost sympathies have been and will remain with the victims and survivors of any and all forms of abuse. Finally, someone in the royal family said the words that needed to be said, but Andrew never said those words. Not once. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. He's not Prince Andrew anymore, remember that. Will move to Sandringham. He'll live quietly, away from public view, funded privately by his brother. The family hopes this will be the end of it. They hope the public will move on. They hope the media will find other stories. But remember what the former royal butler said, there's something brewing. The question isn't whether there's more to this story. The question is, are we ready for what comes next? Are we ready for the next revelation, the next witness, the next piece of evidence that makes this even worse? This investigation is far from over. New documents continue to surface from court cases, freedom of information requests, and journalistic investigations. New witnesses may yet come forward, women who've stayed silent for years but are now emboldened by Virginia's courage. And the royal family is clearly bracing for whatever comes next, taking unprecedented steps to distance themselves from Andrew. If you want to stay informed, if you want the full story as it unfolds without the sanitized mainstream version, subscribe right now. Hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next investigation. We'll be diving deeper into the Epstein network, the sealed documents that could still be released, the other powerful figures named in Virginia's memoir, and the connections that span continents and reach the highest levels of power. The truth has a way of coming out eventually. It might take years, it might take decades, but it comes out. And when it does, When the next bombshell drops, we'll be here to cover every detail, every implication, every consequence. The fall of Prince Andrew isn't the end of this story, it's just the beginning. Thanks for watching.